Point is the fact that this issue is not over, it's not discussed thoroughly. You've got people wanting to speak a second time on it, and I think they're entitled to be heard. This is a crucial vote. And I'm telling you right now, satisfying a bunch of people in the back room now and then coming back and
Mr. Chairman, this is inappropriate discussion for a point of order. I apologize, Mr. James. I understand your concern here, but a question has been called. A vote on whether to call the question should be held. Keeping in mind whatever your concerns are, you may vote yea or nay on calling the question.
Thank you. So, question has been called. All in favor?
Mr. Chairman.
No.
No, I do.
You're out of order.
No, a point of order. When you are taking this type of vote, when you're calling for the question and you allow the second debate, he is correct that they should be able to have ample time, just not one or two. But
actually, Mr. Snipes, that's the call of the chairman, Mr. Snipes.
Right now,
point of order is out of order.
Floor,
Mr.
so
Chairman, please call the vote.
Can speak unless we allow the other person to speak. It requires a 2/3 vote. So I'm going to ask that that vote be a roll call, and then that way, if it doesn't pass on the motion to call the question, which is a 2/3 vote, then we'll allow the other individuals to speak. And I think that's what this board is about. These individuals should have the opportunity to speak.
Okay, your point's well taken. Roll call would be required. 2/3 votes required to call the question. Roll call vote, please, to call the question.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Nay.
Mr. Jess.
Nay.
Mr. Stauffenberg.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Nay.
Mr. Vickery.
Nay.
Sir.
Nay.
Mr. Olthoff. Mr. Hess.
Nay.
Mr. Enns.
Aye.
Mr. Whitus.
Aye.
Mrs. Pope. Mr. McConnell. Mr. McKay.
Nay.
Mr. Snipes.
Nay.
Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Nay.
Mr. Lear.
Nay.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Nay.
Mr. Reinfeldt.
Nay.
Mrs. Peters. Mr. Payton.
Nay.
Mr. Vasser.
Nay. All right. Yeah, 9 to 15, the question of calling the question fails, debate will continue. So, I believe Mr. Wheeler's next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say there's been a lot of correct things said. Stan's right. You know, in order to do waste energy, you've got to have the garbage. And we just don't have the garbage in order to do waste energy within the county. You have to bring it in from elsewhere. He's dead nuts on that one. You know, you have to actually be able to commit that, and there are major companies who collect all that garbage in Chicago who have their own landfills. So if you're expecting to get the garbage to do a waste energy, you're not basing it on what the actual facts of the situation are. And then the other thing that I think the board should know is when we opened this up almost 2 years ago, I emailed Covanta and gave them the information of our consultants and said, we're open for business, get a hold of them if you have a proposal. And their vice business of business development, I followed up and he said he got a hold of the consultant. So it's been open, like Mr. Whitus has said, for that almost 2 years. And waste energy companies have known that we are open for business. Now, if we close it, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden all that goes away. They know what we have. They know what the problem is. It's the input material. So that's why I would think it's a very good thing to actually put the moratorium back in and then figure out that language over the next couple of years to make it specific, and then throw that fishing line back out again if you want waste energy. But just realize you got to be able to deliver the garbage, and the big boys aren't going to be looking to deliver their garbage because if they make more money by putting it in their hole, so to speak.
Mr. Washington.
Regardless as to what technology we talk about, we're talking about more waste coming into the county than the county can produce itself. If we put a moratorium back in, we're we're telling any of those companies, whether they have their own waste sites or whether they need additional waste sites, that we are not interested in them coming. That's an absolute fact. Regardless of what you think about anything else, whichever technology may be selected in the future, you're still going to have an input of garbage or waste from outside of the county. We can't close the doors and bury our heads in the sand and say, we don't want it, so we're gonna die. And effectively, what we're doing is saying that we don't want to raise any income for this county. We're saying that we don't want to do anything that's going to help develop this county, that we're not going to do anything that's going to help the future of this county. We're talking about shutting the doors.
Anybody else, second time? Mr. Stoffer?
Thank you, Chairman. One reason I agree with Matt on his theory of put the moratorium back in effect is the last one that came before this board was brought to us by the city of Kankakee. Without that moratorium, what's to keep them from coming to us with another landfill proposal or anybody else? So I'm just thinking we close the door so that we stop the landfill situation, it's over and done with, and then we talk about other alternatives down the road.
I correct some history there, but the language about moratorium did not enter our solid waste plan until 3 years ago. That was well after the town and country affair. Our issue with town and country was whether the county had citing authority or the city, if I'm correct. Mr. Mulcahy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I tend to agree with Mr. Washington. I don't see, if we can put a moratorium on it and then pull it off, what's the point? I mean, it doesn't do anything. I think we need to keep our options open. I don't think there's anybody on this board that we'd run 100 miles an hour away from a landfill discussion. We still have control. I mean, just because we open it up doesn't mean that we're going to accept whatever. You know, they can't slam it down our throat, and they're not going to come here if it's not a viable moneymaker for them. So that's not our concern if we can produce the garbage for them. Thank you.
Well, they all second that. Start with Mr. Snipe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your it versus someone else's it doesn't resolve it. We have to deal with our it. Don't want to add no other letters to it. Abolish it, which is the landfill. Open it, which is opportunities for environmentally friendly or technologically savvy resolutions. I think that's what the board has said. They said it over and over again. If the motion was amended to abolish this landfill, period, not put a moratorium on it, but to abolish it, and let's deal with environmentally friendly, I think that's the way that we want to go. And that way the door is left open for environmentally friendly, but it kills this landfill issue.
James.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's hard to discuss any other potential of solving our problem with the doors closed. Frankly, I've been going through this war since 2002 when we opened up the doors for outside refuge to come in here. And about 2 years ago, we opened it up again and said, okay, we're going to do something. But I'm going to tell you, I don't feel like going through this freaking war again. Now, let's make the decision. And I say we don't close it. We just put our restrictions in, what we want. And we can do that without having to have to kill it here. It's as simple as that. We all know what we're looking for. I've been researching for 3 years. Other members here have been researching. We know what's out there, and we know the problems. But we also know that these people aren't going to give us a second look if they think we're unfriendly. And I'll tell you, you close this thing today, and if you get Havana to come in here tomorrow and make an application, invest $400,000, that's going to make us about $19 million a year, you're gonna have a war from these people showing up saying, what's going on? I thought you killed it. It's over with. We can't do that, guys. This is a business decision for the county. And we better be looking at good business decisions. Thank you.
Any other comments, second time around? Mr. Seaver.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. The only problem that I have, and I'll go back to with Mr. White's his first motion, and he stated it himself, that the language is ancient. And I just don't like the language of the previous solid waste program, the moratorium. It balls everything. It balls tires, it balls batteries, it balls everything in there that could be recycled into that plan. And himself agreed that the language is probably not correct if we want to move forward to a waste energy type plan. And that's where I'm stuck with the whole thing. I don't want to vote on a moratorium that goes back to the old language, where we need to change the language and make sure it leaves out a big landfill. And I, so I'm going to vote no to the moratorium, just on the simple fact that I don't like the language in there, and it's not a good business decision going forward. Thank you.
Mr. Renz is next.
Yeah, I'd like to inform the board that maybe some of the board members don't know, but the county board does not have the last word on whether there's going to be a dump in this county or not. Any board members that are here that are not aware, I am a township supervisor in this county, and 14, as of right now, 14 of the townships have voted not to have a landfill within their township. This is provided by the Illinois state law. It has not been tested in court yet, but I can tell you the townships are united, and it will be a very lengthy battle no matter which township goes to protect whatever township is picked. Right now, I'm telling you, there's 14 of them, and as far as I know, at the next town meeting, there are going to be 2 more that are joining them 14. That means that there will only be 1 township left in this county that you're going to be able to put a dump in, and that would be Limestone Township. So let's think of that. We do not have the last word.
I think, we've had this ongoing debate. I don't think it's worth our time today to talk about it, but a healthy disagreement. Talk to Mr. Helston, you talk to the environmental lawyers. Will tell us that EPA law cannot be trumped by the actions of the council.
Not true.
EPA law has been, the siting process has been incorporated into the Environmental Protection Act. It's been in place for how many years? 30 years at least, 40 years. And it's in that length of time there's been no challenge by township law. I think that happened. So you bring that issue up, and the environmental lawyers will tell us that they do not feel that that's.
I've had a discussion with a very big law firm in the state of Illinois, and they definitely disagree with your environmental lawyers.
I think Mrs. Kraft effort was caught off guard and perhaps answered off the top of her head. Again, this is not sure. Really want to nail that down. Any other comments for the second time around, Mr. Vicker, please?
Just make a couple observations. I think if those who want to close it and then possibly in the future reopen it, I think you're trying to have it both ways. It would be interesting if Newton County said, well, we don't want Kankakee County garbage. Okay, we don't want that. So if they treat us like we want to treat others, you know, that would be interesting. And then I think the financial end of it rears its ugly head. And so until people come up and have solutions instead of criticisms, you know, we're all subject to many negative, all negative observations from certain people. And until they come up with positive solutions, I have a hard time listening to it. That's all I've said then, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Any other comments, or have we exhausted our debate? Here's we've exhausted our debate. The motion before the board is to modify the solid waste plan and revert the language in the plan in terms of referencing the landfilling, to revert to language that was in place prior to June of 2013. A yes vote would tell us to go back and redraft the plan. A no vote would, at this point, leave language as is. So, further discussion. A yes vote is in favor of modifying the solid waste plan to revert to old language, in other words, the moratorium. A no vote would maintain the plan as is. So further discussion. Mr. Wojcicki?
Just want everyone to realize that a no vote is not a vote for a landfill. Because that's, I know we're going to hear it, because a lot of times we don't get the full truth in certain places. But we're not voting for a landfill.
Is that clear? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tripp?
No.
Mr. Washington?
No.
Mr. Wojcicki?
Nay.
Mr. Stauffenberg?
Yes.
Mr. James?
Nay.
Mr. Vickery?
Nay.
Mr. Oltau? Mr. Hess?
Nay.
Mr. Inns?
Yes.
Mr. Whitus?
Yes.
Mrs. Polk?
Yes.
Mr. McConnell?
Yes.
Mr. McCahey?
Nay.
Mr. Snipes?
All right.
I'm sorry.
I said aye.
Okay.
Mr. Byrne?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy?
Nay.
Mr. Lear?
No.
Nay.
Mr. Hildebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Mrs. Weber?
No.
Mr. Reinfeldt?
No.
Mrs. Peters? Mr. Payton?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
No. 14 to 10. Motion fails, 14 to 10. Do I have another motion?
Yeah, is it proper to make a new motion now?
Wait.
I would motion that we keep the moratorium on the landfill and change the language to investigate alternative energies. No, it was not.
No, I don't know motion, so I don't need to look to me to make a motion, I'll make an amendment to the motion.
That's a different motion than the first one. This is to prohibit a landfill, but to continue to look for ways to recycle garbage.
Is there a second to that motion?
What, can I hear that again?
Could you repeat that, Mr. Inns?
Yeah, I would make a motion that we change the language that would prohibit any type of a landfill, but would also encourage any type of recycle or waste to energy.
Is there a second to that motion? There's a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Reinfeldt first.
I don't know all there is to know about the recycling of materials, the energy production of all this, but I do believe I know that there is a byproduct, no matter what you do, in some of the energy production out of garbage. It does take a portion of burying the byproduct, which is the waste after being burnt in the ground. So if you say you're not going to bury anything, you are telling everybody that it's going to come with an energy proposal that we aren't going to be able to suit your needs. And that is not a good deal in my mind.
To me, the only absolute action we could have taken today is to close it or not close it. Everything else is extremely gray and vague. And I think that's some of the problem we got into the last time. We acted really quickly to open it, which in terms of doing, when we opened it, when we acted quickly to open it, if for those of you that were here, it came about pretty quickly. I think that's why we have the language we have, which was pretty inclusive of everything, which I don't think anybody in this room is open to everything anymore. And so I don't think we were even open to that at the time. So my recommendation, I'm not trying to step on Mr. Enz's motion here, is that we have time. We don't need to act on anything else today. My goal today was just to do the absolute so that the community and everybody knows what our stand is, which we did. We took a stand. People know what our stand is on the landfill. It's not just one person anymore. It's the board. The board took action. And I don't want to take action quickly anymore onto something, and I think what Mr. Enz is saying has validity. I think things that Mr. Snipes, Mr. Washington, and everybody was saying today has validity. I think we need to kind of take a step back and make sure we do what we want to do, instead of doing something very quickly today and come say, okay, we're gonna put a moratorium on a landfill because, okay, no, none of us want a landfill, but just like we just heard, whatever comes in, there's byproducts that come out of it that have to go somewhere. So anything we have is probably going to have some sort of landfill associated with it on a small scale. But I think we kind of need to say, my recommendation would be to take some time and foster exactly what we want before we take quick action today.
Mr. Learford?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to move to table Mr. N's motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Oh, wait a minute. Second.
Okay, Mr. Enz. Draw your motion.
Draw that motion.
Is that acceptable, Mr.?
Yeah, I'd like to get back to the PCA committee for further.
Well, that's one thing at a time.
Okay.
You're withdrawing your
Yes,
second?
yes.
Okay. The motion has been withdrawn, the second has been withdrawn. Any other discussion? Mr. Searoy?
I make a motion to have the PCA investigate the way the board feels going further with our new language in the solid waste management. Is that?
I think the sentiment of the board is to hand this back to the PCA committee to investigate further. I think no doubt we'll be relying on perhaps Mr. Helton for some guidance. Is that the feeling of the board?
Yes.
Any other discussion this morning on that topic? I'm exhausted. Mr. Snipes?
Just want to clarify two things. Our board is voting yes, so I want to make sure that we know that we have to vote aye or nay, because in Bourbon A, there was a case, and it was ruled by the 3rd District Appellate Court that when they voted yes, that case, it was sent back to them that it wasn't a vote that count. or something to that nature. But it was a case law from the 3rd District Appellate Court. So I'm thinking that we need to stick with the ayes and the nays. Right, and my second is versus saying yes and no. And my second one is that, again, when I looked at it, I said the only, I think mass motion was to just go ahead and put the moratorium there. I have no objection to the moratorium, I just wanted it abolished, and that we look for environmental. So I will go with the new motion to basically send this back. That way any county board member can go in and give discussion at the PD meeting or whatever, so that we can draft whatever the language has to be so that we can accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. And that's to end this landfill and look for environmental friendly ways to deal with waste.
Mr. Washington?
Just want to ask, everyone that said yes, is it agreement that they meant yay?
Yeah.
And everyone that said no, is an agreement that they meant nay? No is nay, yes is yay.
Let's make sure it's on the record.
We could wrap up our meeting today. Final business, just announcing openings on the Board of Review. It's time for renewal of those positions.